All right. So we're going to talk about breathing. And breathing is like the biggest adaptogen, the biggest in your body is breathing. And there's so many aspects of it that the breath that we have is not ours. We were breathed in. I would love to share scriptures. Maybe we can make that available as a PowerPoint download or something. But a lot of beautiful scriptures about how God breathed the breath in us. And so it's his air. I want you to just, as we get started, I want you to just get a deep breath, and I want you to notice what happens to your belly and your chest. So take a good breath and just observe. Maybe put your hands at the bottom of your rib cage. See where your body gets bigger. All right. So what should be happening as you take belly expanding? And this is really important for a number of reasons, but this diaphragm is pulling oxygen into your lungs. And it's just quite amazing how our body's designed. In that diaphragm are our largest lymph nodes, and we're going to that a lot later. So we're exercising and moving lymph. Also, there's called this is right about down at the bottom of your sternum. And so those are all stimulated when you breathe in. And so you should be taking a good breath in that moves your belly. And, if you think about like dogs breathe real heavy and they pant, but turtles, they breathe really slow and they live a lot longer than dogs. And a matter of fact, one funny thing I learned is that there are some turtles that breathe. So just a fun fact. But we need to breathe through our nose, and we'll get into the reasons why that is. And we want to move that on just to the next one. But most people live in a state of constant shallow breathing and chest breathing. And that keeps us in a sympathetic, dominant fight or flight mode. And so this is important because we need to have a balance between our nervous system, between the sympathetics and parasympathetics for us to live in yes, there are times when we need to be in a fight or flight, but we don't need to be living that way all the time. And yet, I think if we look at just the people we see, I would bet 80% of people come in and they're stuck in that state. And this is a state that when you're stuck in, it's difficult to heal and it's difficult to regulate your body in a healthy way. Because when you're in a fight or flight, you're in a state of alert and survival. And in order to heal, to digest, to rest, you have to come into a state of trust and safety. And that comes out of this part of our system that's called the parasympathetics. So when we breathe breaths, we stay in a fight or flight. Now, another aspect of this breathing is, the average person thinks 70,000 thoughts a day. And 90% of those thoughts are on repeat every day, the same thoughts without much thought. We're just kind of rather about going things unconsciously. And the fact is if we can decrease the amount of thoughts we have, decrease the amount of breaths we take. And so if you can think, not let your mind go rapid and have more control over that, be a master of your mind, start directing yourself, start your life, make a masterpiece. Then you get your breathing down because, like I was saying, that most people, when they get into that, they're thinking too much and they're breathing, and you'll live longer and better if you can breathe breaths. So maybe we won't get into it here, but there's something called the bloat score, and probably maybe we should make a minute for that. But do is probably let me set this up. I'm going to have you hopefully you have a watch, or maybe you can give me a sign. I can start a timer, but I want you to take a couple breaths in and let them out. And then I'm going to tell you to take a breath in and hold it. And I want you to measure the time that you can hold your breath. And that's called a bloat score. And anytime you can improve your bloat score, you can improve every aspect of your body and your health. So whatever it is, whatever number you come up with, and I got some grids on it, we can tell you, but you should be able to do probably at least 30 seconds. And then at 40 seconds, you're getting better and better. Everything gets better when you can breathe less and hold your breath long. So, well, let me just do that. Let me set up a timer here just a second. Let's all right, where's my timer? There we are. All right. So I'm going to take care of my breathing, but I don't know if somebody can give me an alert. I can take care of yours too. But all right, so take a breath in and out, and do one more breath in, and then I'll start a timer. So just hold it. I'm going to bow out just a minute, but I want to talk to you. Keep holding your breath until you have air hunger. I don't want you to like fainting or anything, but just hold it till you feel like you just are uncomfortable. A lot of us should probably be dropping out about now. I mean, that would be, I would think. All right, and I'll let it go to 45. Yeah, I got you. I saw that, Lori. Good job. That's a pretty good number, by the way. All right, so how many? I guess I can't see everybody's face, but I would say all of us can get better. And there may be somebody out there still holding their breath.
I'm gonna
By
pause
the way,
I'm gonna pause the time here. But if you want to put your score in the chat too.
if you think about if anybody watched Tom Cruise in the Mission Impossible lately and saw some of the underwater features, he held his breath like 6.5 minutes. It's a guy in his 60s. It looks like looks like a kid. But I'm just saying. So the bowl score is something that you can look it up, and I can give you the facts on it. But yeah, the longer you can go. So if you say you got 20 seconds, and you just work on that every day in a week, you could be at 30 seconds, and you've greatly improved your health stamina by doing that. So the nervous system is greatly affected by your breathing. As the slide says, the nasal breathing especially stimulates the vagus nerve, which triggers the rest and digest. The parasympathetic gets us out of the fight or flight. So I don't know. I do this a lot through the day, especially the more I've learned about this, is I'll just keep my mouth shut. You know, there's a value sometimes of keeping your mouth shut and breathe through your nose. And but sometimes it can just relax you, even when things around you can be very tense. You can kind of regulate your system. Sometimes if you're being competitive in some game, say a card game, right, like Uno, and you're getting real tense, or I'm thinking pickleball, really, but and you breathe through your nose, you can start regulating it just a little bit. So even in this slide, you'll see that proper breathing actually lowers your cortisol. So that's saying you're lowering your things that measure stress. It improves the flow and enhances your. While shallow or rapid breathing contributes to anxiety, fatigue, and poor immune function. That's saying you want to breathe less and you want to think. One of our teachers is Sasha Breath is your remote control to your nervous system. So I love the heart and brain. They're having a love fest on the bottom of this. Thanks, Andrea. Those are great slides. I appreciate you putting that together.
Mm-hmm.
So mouth breathing is, as we've been saying a bit or going around about it, is kind of a stress signal. And I would say that we have to and I'll notice when I'm riding my bike or if I'm trying to run or it's not easy for me to just breathe through my nose, but it is activity. So I notice that sometimes I try to breathe for like a minute through my nose while I'm exerting more physically. Mouth breathing is a stress signal that activates cortisol, increases inflammation. And chest breathing is inefficient to get oxygen, flow, and low brain focus. One of the things that your body feeds on is oxygen. And it's a funny thing, but we see a lot of people that are oxygen, they're hypoxic. And that affects your blood quality as well. So I've linked sometimes the quality of people's blood, the anemia, to sometimes poor breathing. So the result of this mouth breathing is that we're tired, wired, and we're fueling inflammation, and you're in a state that's more anxious. So you don't know they taught, but there's a way to properly breathe. I think that's probably on our next slide, Andrea.
Yep.
So what we want to teach you a bit, I want to give you two ways. The first thing I want to share with you is not this slide. But we'll get to that in just a second. But I want you to learn to what I call box breathe, just to breathe in for 4 or 5 seconds. Breathe in through your nose for 4 or 5 seconds. Go ahead and do that while I'm talking to you. Then hold it for 5 seconds. 5 seconds, slow exhale. I like doing it through the nose. People will say do it through the mouth. Just let it out. You're not forcing the air out. You're just letting it out. Again, for another 4 seconds. And you might tap this one out, but just kind of stay in that mode of just breathing a box breathe, and ways to do that. But here's another way that's been laid out in this, is to take some time in your day, and this is a 4-7-8, and they're just talking about doing this in rounds. So like you might start your day, you might finish it, you might do it at your lunch break to reset. You might even start doing it before you eat, it just to reset your system to receive food. But to inhale through your nose for 4 seconds, hold it for 7 seconds, and exhale for about 8 seconds. Your exhale is your parasympathetic. Your inhale is more your sympathetic. It's a funny thing that your right nostril, and you can do this, you can breathe through either nostril, and you can focus on left or right. Your right nostril goes along with your sympathetic nervous system. So it's like the air of your nervous system. Your left nostril has to do with your parasympathetic nervous system. So if you want to calm yourself down, you just regulate your breathing, but you might also focus in on breathing through the left nostril. So many times when if we look at people, this is an overwhelm and anxiety. And so help that. And when we focus on our body, we have different things. But one of the things, just by changing your state by breathing, or even saying, okay, I'm going to breathe through the nostril to slow myself down, put my brakes on my nervous system that's going out of control. When we do that, we've kind of caused our mind to shift and create a different state. So I like what it says, that do this in rounds, do it before meals, before bed, anytime you feel tense, just think about your breathing. It's your best tool. Okay, Andrew, next one, please. One of the, I learned so much from you guys, and I appreciate so much. And one of the things that a beautiful lady I used to take care of that was older, and she would say, she breathes in like Christ, the presence of Christ, and she breathes out. And I like that visual, like that you just breathe in the things that serve you, you breathe that aren't serving you. So get rid of serve you, just like let them go in that exhale, just release them, let them go. And so just have a visual sometimes of like letting that go, expelling the bad and bringing in the good. So daily, I like to think about your breathing a lot. Think about the gift that breath is. We said about 4-7. If that's too much to think about, just go into that box breathe. They're both very good. Take breath breaks. I like that. I mean, we'll get into breaks for activity, but before eating and to improve your digestion, kind of change your state. Focus on during your walks. And I'm just saying it's going to be a trained activity. It may not come well at first, but see, this is a beautiful thing. Our body likes to learn and expand. And so it likes the novelty of being challenged. So be aware of that as you're walking and you're exercising. Just take maybe a minute and just really focus on that nose breath. And it's a trained activity, and you'll get better at it. And when you have an activity you can't do, and then all of a sudden you can do it, it's a sign your body's upgrading itself. So pair breathing with bounding rollers. Before bed, you want to like close your lights down, get off the blue light stuff, wear the glasses if you have to, but better yet, just kind of close your day down and get into better breathing to help to have better rest, because good days start with good nights. Okay, Andrew.
Okay.
So a lot of that is like a kind of a change of our state. If you watch an athlete going to the free throw line or a golfer standing in the tee box, I mean, no matter what a few seconds ago, that person has to re-enter a new phase of their game. And that's what changing your state changes. Breath is free medicine. It's the fastest way to tell your body you're safe. You can rest, and there's no healing outside of safety and trust. When you don't have that, you're stuck in fight or flight, and you can't heal, and you can't be your best. If you feel inflammation or stress, start by shifting your breath. So I don't know if there's any questions on that, but I'm gonna use this as my transition to the movement part. Diaphragm, which helps us to breathe. I just told you it's a big muscle, and the funny thing about it, I was going to look it up. Called crux. There's a right and left. It's how your diaphragm anchors into your lumbar spine, and it's a funny thing that you can check somebody by the strength of their quadriceps, and sometimes people will be really there, and it's because it's affected the tightness of the diaphragm affected the lumbar spine. It's core strength that you're missing if that diaphragm's not working. So if your quad was weak and you started working those connections with how your diaphragm anchors into that lumbar spine, you can find that strength come right back. Will get real big-eyed when they see that change. It's awesome. But the thing is, if your diaphragm's not working, you're going to not have good stamina. And so when you clear that, you're going to have better breathing and you're going to have better energy for your day. So you can do some of this as self-care, but if you're on the sides of your body and come across like where your ascending and descending colon are, it's right by your belly button and pushing and down, you'll affect those areas. So anyway, so I was just saying the diaphragm's a big muscle. It's really prone to stress. There's a big group of muscles. Nodes are there. So your breathing, as well as your use of your muscles, help your lymph system. I'm going to tie the movement into how we can heal and detox, and it just really, just like all our systems, they all work so much together. When you're breathing well, it helps pump lymph. When you're moving well, it helps move lymph. The lymph is a system that is like your garbage disposal. It's all through your system. It's particularly thick into your arms and in your groin area. And sometimes we talk a lot about organ flushing and dry brushing to get fluids moving, because if those things aren't moving, then you're stagnant. It goes along with brain fog and inflammation and swelling and puff fatigue. And so it's important that we get our body moving, because that actually is the pump that moves the lymph glands, the lymph fluids. So it is exercise, also how your lymphatic system drains and detoxes, and how your fascia stays hydrated and flexible. And somebody out there is probably wondering about fascia, and fascia is so fascinating. I mean, that's a whole world. But fascia isn't just this connected tissue that has no, it's actually part of our communication system. And it's probably what moves things faster in our system than actually our nervous system. It's a communication system. And so fascia needs to be hydrated, flexible. That's why you roll and stretch, and why you get adjusted is to maintain flexibility. Meridian system, when you look at acupuncture, is based on the fascia and how it communicates. And for something that had no meaning, all of a sudden it just means so much that your fascia is moving and hydrated. And how your brain and body regulate together is a big part of your muscles. Several popular books that have dealt with trauma. One of them, The Body Keeps the Score, is Trauma by Peter Levine, and about some of the chiropractic principles. It's about when we have flexibility, we nourish our brain. There was a Nobel Peace Prize laureate, Roger Sperry. I don't have the year, I can look it up, but he said that 90% of the brain energy comes from movements of our body. Joints are very feedback loops to them. They're proprioceptive there's proprioception. That means that you are a transmitter and you are a receiver. You have nerves that are telling you stuff about your environment, and then you have a response. As a matter of fact, your body takes in 1 billion pieces of information per second, And out of that billion things, your body, your mind, called the efferent, makes a response to that. So constantly receiving and transmitting information from your body. And when your proprioception is brain, things are working well. And this is one of the things they're saying, that when you go through trauma, which, by the way, oh my goodness, there's trauma is a big thing that anchors in our body sometimes. And there's a big study done, it's called the ACE study, the Adverse Childhood Events. And it would say that almost 100 immune problems and many degenerative adverse childhood events that were never processed. And so, sometimes people don't get a second chance, but sometimes people don't get a first chance. And a lot of times there's problems that people deal with that have never been processed. And so they continue to affect the body and therefore the health and the mind. So anyways, let's go to the next slide. And Andrea, I'm looking at trying to get this done in 5 more minutes. That would give us a half hour, and then QA. I'm just thinking.
I think that sounds fine. I think you'll be able to get through. It's the 4 points next.
Yeah. So these are a couple questions that people are asking, like, I'm too tired to work out. What should I actually do? I guess we'll just address these just one at a time. But if you're too tired to work out, just say, let me give you 2 examples. I was thinking about a person I just took care of that has a real bad health condition, and he hasn't been able to find through all the places he's went all over. They've experimental treatments, but he went down to Florida and just started walking, and he didn't feel like walking, but he got better. There was a story one time on Focus, a man who had a heart condition, and they told him not to excite his body, to just don't exert, that he would kill himself. His heart was that weak. And of course, he did that for a while, as they recommended, until he got so depressed he was ready to kill himself. And he's going to kill himself by running. He set his affairs in order, and he took off running till he thought he was going to die. And he didn't die. And then so he did it the next day, thinking, okay, well, I didn't die then, but I will. And every day he ran to try to die, and every day he got better and better. And so the very thing that he thought was going to kill him actually was his help. So I'm just saying, I have people that I just say, man, do 30 seconds of walking, and then today and maybe a minute, that's 100%. So I always say, don't let what you can't do stop you from what you can do. But there's a lot of examples how that people were ready to die and they did the thing that they thought was going to kill them, and it actually helped them. The next question would be, why do I feel worse after exercise? Well, sometimes we exercise and stress our body beyond its limit. And so sometimes we're not, and I have this mentality, like doing more is better. And then I'm so sore, for the week or something. And maybe somebody can relate to that. So, I mean, I try to be a little sore because the growth is in that uncomfortable area. But if our adrenals are really stressed and we're shooting out a lot of cortisol with stress already, it's going to add to that. So, to do things like that maybe are pleasurable for you, like I hope like some exercise, like games that might be fun for you. Maybe it's badminton or pickleball, or maybe it's less than that. Maybe it's cornhole, to get moving. You think about the smartest man in the world was Stephen Hawking. And Stephen Hawking, he had no control over his body, but because this man was such an asset because of his brain, they came in and constantly, like hours in the day, they would just work his joint, make him move. And that stimulated things to his brain. And if somebody couldn't do anything and you just move their joints, you would increase their respiration. So, I mean, that's the way our body's designed. That movement will give feedback to us to breathe a little more. So find what you can do and try to expand on that. I think about exercise too. If you can do it outside, what a beautiful thing, because there's different electrons outside in the atmosphere. And of course, the idea of grounding. If you can do that, that's a plus. If you can do it with a group or a friend, I mean, those are such beautiful things. We'll learn more about that in a minute. Can movement really help with detox and inflammation and focus? Well, absolutely. Everything I've said is that's a gift to our body. Every cell in our body needs motion. And so if you've been in our office, a lot of times we'll try to use even a vibration plate to bring it into the brain as we're making changes, do resets into the nervous system. Oh, okay. And then how do I get started if I've been sedentary or in pain? Well, again, I think the phrase "don't let what you can't do stop you if you can," and I'd say just whatever you can do. Sometimes there's those little things that those little pedals that you can put below the your seat or something. I'm just thinking that just get moving a little bit. If it's like moving a wrist or an elbow until you can move the shoulders, and just the expansion where you start what you can do till you can till that comes about where you can do more of it. So about the next slide. So the foundational movement goals are we've talked about those a little bit earlier, is about the lymph flow. It's a pump, the fascia, the brain body loop, and brain fertilizer. So let's go ahead and go to the next one. So we stimulate the lymphatic system every day with movements. Your lymph system, your sewage system, if it's not moving, neither are your toxins. If you're stuck in your lymphatics, you're probably stuck in your energy, and you're probably stuck in your emotions. All that's going to go together. Lymph only moves when you do. Stagnant lymph is as inflammation, swelling, brain fog, and fatigue. And your immune system depends on this flow. So the vibration, rebounding, dry brushing, walking. And one of the things I said about is we have to expand our comfort zone. So one thing that really helps our brain is to get out of our zone. And this is a term called hormesis, which we use in our office a bit. And that puts your body on alert. And hormesis is something you do when you expand your comfort zone. For instance, like if you're walking, this says 3 to 4 miles per hour. For 30 seconds, maybe you walk much faster or double that. And so when you get out and expand that comfort zone and stretch yourself, that's called high intensity interval training. Well, you've just made some massive changes in your nervous system. And that's where some of the great fruit is. We talked about diaphragmatic breathing earlier, breathing through your nose, training yourself to breathe through the nose, expanding the tummy rather than the chest. And so go to the next slide, Andrea. So we mobilize and hydrate the joints. We talked about the proprioception that's involved and how that stimulates our brain. Your connective tissue is your richest sensory organ. That's sensory meaning you're getting input into your brain from your body. Fascia is like a sponge. It needs compression and stretch to stay hydrated. So some ideas about foam rolling, rocking your hips. This cat-cow exercise would be where you're on your hands and knees and you let your belly drop down, and then you hunch up like a cat, and then you kind of go through that, your flexion extension, and floor sitting, squatting, those things, whatever you can do on that. But to the left where it says stuck fascia as equals nerve tension, fatigue, and stored emotional trauma, that is really amazing. I can tell you before I knew much about emotions, when you started working with people's body and they find a release in their fascia or in a joint, sometimes there'll be things like crying, not because of pain, but because there was some emotional release. And sometimes there'll be reactions like laughing, but sometimes you just hit into something that was just stored in that fascia. And so I definitely seen some really interesting things there. So healthy fascia is better movement, mood, and better detox. Andrew, how about the next one?
Let's see that we have a couple more here.
Yeah. So, well, I want to get to BDNF, but let's see. Restore our feedback. Yes, you don't need a workout routine. You just need a new way of thinking about movement. Let's think about this. So, say you didn't have exercise as something you wanted to do, but You started taking stairs instead of an elevator. You started parking further away to walk. When you toweled off with after a shower, you got a little bit more rigorous and you pushed a little harder, a little faster. And if you're getting your laundry, you kind of up your game, and you could make daily activities a way to expand yourself and your movements, and kind of rock your brain a little bit, get that feedback from your body to your brain. So we know, I hope all of us know by now that sitting was the new smoking, that we have to, that ages us and affects our nervous system. And we need to be at least standing a lot if we can, or on some kind of a ball that moves, or again, creating motion from our body to our brain. Movement reactivates the brain-body connection, so we have better digestion, sleep, and detox. So hourly movements, squats, like breaks. So we talk about taking a breath break or something. Well, you could also do like swing your arms or squat down, or do a plank for a minute or something. Just just break it up a little bit. Just take those little snacks of exercise. Cross crawl. We love cross crawling. We will be passing on some really fun ideas, but we've given you the idea, the finger thumb idea, or our whole body. But this is a cross crawl where you do thumb, finger, thumb on opposite, or you do your body opposite arm and leg, turn your head to the arm that goes up. But even great athletes do that, because this gets you connected with your body. And there's a thing of strength, and then there's a whole nother world of like agility, where your brain's really working with your body. You can have great strength, but not great agility. Okay, Andrew, the next one, please. Oh, and then brain-derived neurotrophic factors. Those are like fertilizer for your brain, and you get those by exercise. And not only this BDNF, but there's also something in our muscles. Can you believe, but your muscles are actually an endocrine gland too. They make a protein that's a hormone that's called a myokine, and these myokines are called hope molecules. So when we stretch and work a muscle, it releases a chemical into us that helps our brain. Brain-derived neural factor is another part of that. It helps us to learn better, helps in our brain to form changes in mood and stress and resilience, and acts as an antidepressant to us, or a buffer for cortisol. So they say not exercising is like taking a depressant. If you're not exercising, you're in the way of getting depression. And they've done many studies on this, about in schools where people that started to do more activity did better in school. In our school system, they always say our athletes are our best students. They have a higher GPA. When you're working your brain, when your brain's hot, your body doesn't rot, and vice versa. When your body's hot, your mind won't rot. You'll keep it strong. So this talks about, like what I said, high intensity interval training on the right there, about small bursts of like expanding into your comforts, out of your comfort zones. Breathing through your nose again, coordinated movements. I mean, this is a fun thing, but I always like to connect my brain with my body. And I think, like, if you were to do like say you hear music, and you could do your cross crawl to like a rhythm, or you hear music and you're tapping your feet. Maybe you tap each toe to one of the beats, but you're connecting your brain and body, and rhythm just kind of pushes that and makes it all the better. And another thing about, like, when you do a dance, a line dance, or some of these things, you're doing it oftentimes in a group, and that's something called collective effervescence. And that's just saying, when you're in a group project and doing something together, that it increases our results. I mean, we might feel this like if we go to a concert, or maybe we go to church, or some activity that we do something together, and that common purpose and that common thing we worked on just builds a synergistic energy about us. And that's called collective effervescence. So it's very much emotional. It's a social experience, something that kind of helps us to learn together, to share those epiphanies of our learning and our growing and doing life together. And so that's what we like to, even about our web call, is it gives us the opportunity to share something together, and for Q&As, and for us to be together and share it as a group, because there's things that you will teach us, and hopefully there's things that will teach you. But there's actually, you'll teach each other things. When one person is up, maybe the next person is down. And so you that are up, help those that are down, and you that are down, look for those that are up to kind of bring you out of that. And someday you'll be the helper. So that's what we like about when you do things outside, do it as a group, collective effervescence, just doing it together. So your body makes all this chemistry. It's like its own pharmacy. It's got this beautiful stuff. And John Ratey, who's written books called Spark, and done studies and Go Wild, just talking about how that exercises like the Prozac and like the Ritalin, and it's the things that can calm and increase our focus. So a lot of times we look for a medication when in fact our body can make those things when we do the right balance in our lives with the right types of movements and the right kinds of breaths. So with that in mind, I mean, these are things that that we've talked about today, that we've done a flyover. There's absolutely lots of books on this and lots of learning. So by no means did we just scratch the surface, but to challenge one another to do better. So here's some challenges for us, and then the challenge that we continue our learning and we keep digging in to do this.